Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We had been talking about the Khulafa al-Rashidin and the rightly guided Khalifas for the past few nights. Tonight, I want to continue in line with that with someone who is many times overlooked, and that is Hasan ibn Ali radiallahu an. He is actually the fifth Khalifa. His Khilafah was only 6 months, but if we go back to the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said that my Khilafah, or those who will succeed me, that will extend for a period of 30 years. And if we look at the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, which was 2.5 years, and if we look at the Khilafah of Umar, which was about 10 years, and then we look at the Khilafah of Uthman, which is about 12 years, and then we look at the Khilafah of Ali radiallahu an, which is that final few years and minus 6 months, that those 6 months are completed by Hasan, and inshallah we see him to be the last of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, to be the last of the rightly guided Khalifas. Why use him as an example and why talk about him? The one thing that I really enjoyed about Hasan radiallahu an was his humility. And we will look at that, and I think that's important when we look at how he stepped down in order to prevent a further civil war. But I want to take another step back with this story that I'm sure many of us are familiar with, and that is there was an old man who was making wudu, but he was making it improperly. So him and his brother, they said, old man, can you please correct our wudu? And what happened was that they made wudu in front of him, and the old man understood that they were actually correcting him, and he told them, no, that what you did was correct and this was the correct way to do it, understanding who they were radiallahu anhuma and their status in light of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And another great example of his humility is when he stepped down from the Khilafah. So he was actually entrusted with the leadership after his father radiallahu anh was assassinated, and he had taken up the position and he was leading the people. And like we said, for that 6-month time frame and that 6-month time period, he was actually Khalifatul Muslimin. He was considered the leader of the Muslims at the time. But in order to prevent a greater harm, in order to prevent a greater fitna, he radiallahu anh actually stepped down and he allowed Muawiyah to take that leadership role. Why are these situations and why are these benefits important? It's because it's a lesson for us to be humble too and learn how to have humility even in situations where we know we're right. And look at the two situations that we had spoken about. When it came to the old man, he clearly knew how to make wudu better than this old man did. And when it came to the situation with Muawiyah radiallahu anh, Hasan, was more deserving of the leadership, but he knew that just because I'm more deserving or just because I'm more knowledgeable or even because I'm right, it doesn't mean that I should allow my ego to step in. And many times we are put in situations where we know we're right and we know we're more deserving. But it's important to always look at the maslahah, look at the potential harms and the potential benefits. Why am I actually trying to hold on to this? What is it that is keeping me firm in this position? And is this, hill really worth dying on? Many times we think just because we're right, we can step forward and, our voices should be heard. But we also have to understand that we live in a very dynamic society. We live in a very dynamic culture. And things will affect others. And is me being right more important than the good of the people? And it's a tough answer. We don't always have the answer to these questions. But the one thing that will always help us, and the one thing that will always benefit us, and the one thing that will always guide us is being humble for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He Azza wa Jal make us all humble and allow us to use this beloved companion, the grandson of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the leaders of the youth of paradise, radiallahu an, as an example for all of us. Ameen.